house with O'Connor. Hey, O'Connor, your house. I did wood in your house. Hypocrisy's head in the clouds. Curating all kind of loud. That's in the front of the crowds. Paragraphs holding it down. Anybody can get it. Come to us for your news and opinions. We got a voice, there is no choice. We use the voice in your house, making wrestling noise. Moving fast, it's like cruiserweight action. Your house is a perfect distraction. Pump us in your ears when you in traction. Keep this work with some wrestling action.
What is up, guys? What's happening? It's the Con Man, and I'm in your house, and we are back once again for another banger of an episode here at In Your House. And of course, you guys already know me, all right? It's Alicon, the Concept House, and my great team here with the work that we give y'all. But today, ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday, so if you're in the household, you know what that means. That means it's time for the Raw Deal with Howse and O'Neal. And of course, I mean, it's not just me here. It's Howse and O'Neal. So I mean, I can't be both of them. I'm Howse. We got to bring in O'Neal, and that's of course divinely designed Annie O'Neal. How's it going?
What's up, everyone? I am the O'Neal, bringing the Raw Deal to you with my friend Con. Con, how are you? How's everyone? I am ready to talk some Raw. How about you?
I am always ready to talk a little bit of pro wrestling. I'm doing good. Just, you already know, just in that vibe, getting things done, and just always trying to move in the right direction. But of course, I always have to ask, how's your last week been, Annie?
You know what? It's been really dynamic. Peaks and valleys, man. It's how you are going to overcome those things when you're in the midst of them, and just working through it, and surprising myself every time. So that's just what we do. That's just what we do.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Who are you
every
in
single
the
day
face of adversity, Con?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You got to stand on business.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to stand on business here when it comes to talking Monday Night Raw. And, man, this was another solid episode. Now, I will prefix that with this. I feel like the episode was a little bit lighter this week than past episodes. But I want to say this as well, that not every single episode has to blow you away. Not every single episode, has to be a banger or anything. Sometimes you just got to move, you got to move things along, and moving things along is important to getting those bigger reactions and whatnot. And I feel like this is what it was on Monday Night Raw. I mean, like I said, I felt like for me, it was mostly background noise for it. Like I was able, it wasn't like sticking, like my eyes weren't glued to the screen like past Monday Night Raws. But once again, this is all part of the puzzle, right? I believe. And also, I think it's okay to have one of those episodes, in my opinion, because SmackDown was really good, and that there was a lot that came from SmackDown. But what's your overall thoughts on this episode of Monday Night Raw?
I think you bring up a really good point. You don't want to oversaturate the storylines right before a big show, especially Bash at Berlin. You got to keep the pieces rolling. You don't want to give the crowd more than they need. Like, it is the calm before the storm. Things got to marinate before they get served to us. So
yeah.
And the fans constantly don't need their amygdala hijacked. We don't always need to be on the edge of our seats. I really enjoy just watching a show unfurl. Everything was what it needed to be in this episode.
Yeah, once again, I'm not dissing the episode.
Sure.
You got to have episodes like this. It's just from my observation in like the last month or so, honestly, Annie, that I've been watching the show. My mindset has been like, wow, there's been so much going on.
Right.
And then you have one of those episodes where it's like, all right, there's some movement, but it's a
Right.
lot slower movement than what we've been getting. It was just it was noticeable. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, like in life, you don't want to experience chaos all the time.
Right.
Sometimes the boring parts are really necessary.
Yes, because boring is boring and we get it, but it does move it moves you to where you need to get to. You know what I'm saying? So like it's all
because
necessary.
the tension is coming.
Yep.
Like everything doesn't need to be squeezed for what it's worth every show.
Exactly. And honestly, I think that if you're booking smart, especially with like it, so pretty much, for the most part, it seems like the card for Batch and Berlin is pretty well rounded out for the most part. They got 2 world heavyweight championship matches, and then they have the tag match between the Terror Twins and the Judgment Day. So I don't know if anything's been dialed in. I'll look into that here in a little bit, but there's any other matches that's been dialed in that I can remember right off the top of my head. But I do want to reference and bring and stay right there with the Terror Twins. I got to say that even for an episode that I felt like was a little bit slower, I really liked the promos in here. The continued tension that's building. You're seeing the unity between the Terror Twins come together a lot, a lot more. You're seeing the Judgment Day really honing into who they are now as this newer version of the faction. But once again, like I've been saying for weeks, and like I said prior to SummerSlam, Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest both just feel bigger. They feel bigger than what they were before.
And I love the name that they've chosen for themselves. And I like how a platonic friendship is being exemplified here. Like, it's just one person supporting the other because they genuinely want the best. And I think that's a really interesting dynamic because not everything needs to be romantic. Like, platonic love is still worth fighting for. Like, you know what? Rhea's had Damian's Priest through and through, and the same thing for Rhea. They stood side by side when the world, crumbled behind them, and they were there at the worst moment possible. And you know what? They are their twin in terror, and I love the symmetry between the two. I think it's just such a good cohesive energy. Like, Damian Priest is this larger than life figure, and Rhea Ripley is that in her own right. And I just love how they're just so congruent together.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, and it's because of the friendship that they hold together prior to this happening. I mean, they've been so close for so long, and now it really feels like, Annie, that it's just like them showing that already grown, that already, like you said, platonic friendship that they have together, and you're seeing it on screen now. You're not seeing, like, you're not just hearing about it in dirt sheets about how close friends they are, how they travel together, how they do everything together as a unit, as friends, as colleagues, confiding in each other and whatnot, and being there for each other at their lowest of lows and highest of highs, and being those platonic friends. And now you're seeing that real life friendship come to life on air, and it feels real because it is real. And it's just I love that. Yep, I love it. That's it right there. I love that.
Because not every storyline where a man is involved with a woman has to be romantic.
Thank you.
This is such an important example of that, because not everything has to be romantically driven. And I just think sometimes that's just such a boring angle. Like, this
feels
really
like a
makes
cop-out
the
sometimes.
narrative interesting. Exactly.
Yeah, it feels like a cop out. Now we're seeing like
Right.
an organic, real friendship between these two, and it's great. Like I said, they feel like bigger stars. They feel more like faces of the company, and like
I do.
it's weird because like I really like with Priest. He's starting to me, just to me,
Yes.
he's starting to feel like that Undertaker role now.
Yeah.
And that's a tough, that's a big gap to fill, right? Like that's a
Right.
huge,
Without,
like Undertaker was impactful, like, and so but the way I see Damian Priest now, he can fill that role.
right.
He feels like that, and
Without trying to replicate everything that the Undertaker was.
yes,
It can never be
boom.
repeated, obviously. But
Right.
he is like, as he's paying homage to someone like he really appreciates. I
For
get
sure.
that.
Yeah, for sure. And then with Rhea Ripley, it gives me like those China-esque type vibes. Like, and that right there was also a big hole to fill because China was once in a lifetime. You know, like she was such a, such a big star in the time that she was, that it's like there's been like different types of talents that have tried to be that China, or not tried to be it. Maybe some tried to be it, but others have been like, let's try to duplicate that role. Like I feel like they kind of did that a little bit, like tried to put like Beth Phoenix in that role a little bit during her time with the company. And Beth Phoenix was great, and Beth Phoenix
Absolutely.
was one of a kind, but she wasn't China. Like
Because not everyone can carry that torch because, like you said, once in a lifetime person.
yeah,
And I feel like this is definitely demonstrated by Rhea Ripley. She is a once in a lifetime, once in a generation type of figure that you're not going to forget 20 years from now. And
right.
like who in this generation of wrestlers do you think is equivalent to that? And I don't think Rhea is. Maybe Charlotte.
Yeah.
But I really think Rhea, it just carves her essence in history as it's passing before us now.
Yeah. And Roger here is saying, our buddy Roger, friend of the show, he doesn't get the comparisons between Priest and Taker, and he's saying no hate on him, but here's where I see it. It's
different. It's not like he's trying to replicate what Undertaker is. It's the persona. It's the larger than life. Like I'm going to take your soul if you cross me. It's how he makes you feel.
Yeah,
not more or less in the outward gimmick.
That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going with it. Like, yeah, of course, he has the the black the gear that he wears,
right?
The purple, and like he's very tall, and he's giving that undead-ish type vibe, But really, for me, it gives me that with Priest is like the way he carries himself in the locker room, like, and that's one thing that really reminds me of Taker in a way where it's like he was that maturity in the locker room. Taker had been there. Taker had seen everything. He was like a locker room leader, and it happened organically through doing the work. Like when it comes to Damian Priest, that's what I see. I see him being somebody that's like in that maturity level and can very much be seen as a locker room leader if he's not already seen like that right now. So
I have a question for you, Khan.
Sure.
So even though Damian was stripped of his belt, do you think he still has that champion persona even without that belt now?
Yes, I do.
How do you how? What qualities does he have that would make you say yes?
That's a really good question, but the answer to it, and once again, in my opinion, my thoughts is the fact that it's not the fact that because during his championship reign, he didn't it still felt like he was a mid-card guy that was put into the heavyweight title picture. Him losing that championship and exuding that emotion, like for me, watching him as he was looking at the replay of Finn screwing him over at SummerSlam, and then the visual of him putting his hand around Finn Balor's neck in that match before he ultimately lost the title, that sticks with me. And I think that his crowd control on promos is better. I think that he knows how to control the crowd a lot better than he did before. And I just think WWE is getting behind him more. I mean, he had his I think they had a documentary that they did with him, and that came out. And I felt like that really changed people's perception. Not changed as in like he was, anything less than what he is now. But I just feel like there was a lot of people that didn't know his story. And like now people know his story. It's like, exactly. So like I feel like they're positioning him to be a perennial main eventer.
That's an excellent answer. I think your answer checked all of the boxes, and I couldn't agree more. And I feel like Rhea Ripley's on a very similar trajectory, and sometimes I feel like a lot of the IWC holds wins and losses in a really one-dimensional point of view, because our failures are critical to our character development. Yeah. Who are we because of these things happening? And what do we do with it? Like the betrayal on behalf of Finn Balor, it made Damian Priest skyrocket into the next stratosphere. Liv Morgan screwing over Rhea Ripley. It made Liv Morgan look like even more of a viable threat. Like, she said something, she was going to do it. She did it.
Yep.
Like, things are not always what they seem. And I really love that about Liv Morgan. And just the opportunities that come from things like losses and failures. Like,
what I'm liking about Liv Morgan so much is that she's still getting her shit in against Rhea Ripley. And she needs to look strong. Being the champion, she should still look strong going into their tag team match that they're going up against at Bash in Berlin. But like, very much if Rhea Ripley gets her hands on Liv one-on-one, she can destroy her. But like, because she's so protected by the Judgment Day, she hasn't even really had that opportunity yet. And what I liked about what happened on Monday Night Raw is the fact that like, it really made you believe in the Judgment Day again. The way that they were like had him being Damian Priest tied up in the ropes while watching Liv just decimate Rhea Ripley, like that needed to happen. Like we needed to still know that even though the Terror Twins are up and the fans are behind them and everything, we still needed to believe that the Judgment Day is a threat to these two.
Strength in numbers too.
Yeah.
Did you see the shirt that Liv was wearing?
Yes, I did.
That was dirty. I'm
loving this version. I'm loving this version of her.
Regina George Liv, I'm saying.
I love this lane for her. I really do. And it's the vibe that she's gonna do whatever it is to keep where she's at. She's become this manipulative character. She knows who to align herself with. And honestly, so I've been wanting to throw this one out here for a little bit. So I'm gonna throw it out here. I know we haven't done any predictions. I know we'll probably get to predictions, but I still see a reality where Tony, that's exactly what I'm getting to. Hang on, man. Hang on. Sit with me. That's exactly what I'm getting to. I could see a reality where Liv and Dom win at Bash in Berlin.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they have somebody return that we haven't seen for a while. And nobody's thinking about her. And she's been off the scene for a while. And I could see Raquel Rodriguez returning and helping out Liv and Dominic.
That's a name I honestly... She's been on the show for a while.
Yep.
I forgot Raquel Rodriguez was... Like, yeah, I would love to see it. I thought she was lost in obscurity for a minute, and I'm like, oh yeah, she's a wrestler.
Yeah, and you remember she had the old back flex thing that she did all the time,
and she smiles a lot. That's what I remember from Raquel Rodriguez.
So here's the thing, Raquel, she had some solid matches, but the character was just flat.
Right.
Like she was big, strong. She was
right.
Yeah, she was big, strong chick, and that was it. And like, I really feel like I love it, but I feel like that what if we brought Raquel into the Judgment Day as Liv's heavy? That gives her a purpose. And we'd be able to see that strong woman style of wrestling that she, because she could put on a match. Don't get me wrong, she could wrestle. And
honestly, what other woman on the roster do you think could go toe to toe with Rhea Ripley?
That's my
size for size,
bingo.
pound for pound.
Bingo,
that's what I'm
you got it.
Because it's not Liv. Liv cannot take mommy out on her own. No way. Not without intervention from the Judgment Day.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying here. Hype. He's like, the positive support to the terror twin, not the terrorist twins. He's wild. I love it. But
I don't agree, but he's allowed to have his opinion, his wrong opinion. But
there you go. He
doesn't need me to validate his opinion.
I was waiting for it.
He's entitled to think what he has to think, but he's wrong. But okay.
But no, I think. Listen, I really think that putting Rodriguez in the group is a great move. I think it helps the Judgment Day stay strong, and like you said, you said it. Who works toe to toe? Listen, Liv versus Rhea 1-on-1. It's simply not believable. It's not even anything against Liv Morgan. It's the fact that Rhea Ripley is a once in a lifetime figure. You know, there's not many that's going to be able to step toe to toe with her. Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, maybe Jade Cargill at some point in time, but definitely Raquel, who has that size and can be a bull with another bull. And, those two going toe to toe, that's believable. And it keeps Liv protected from having to go against Rhea Ripley 1-on-1. And we keep that believability factor.
But you know what? It seems to be interesting that Liv Morgan is on her revenge tour, right? Well, Rhea Ripley is on her retribution tour.
Yeah.
Don't leave Rhea Ripley alone long enough for her to exact the type of punishment she is going to unleash on Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
Liv can have everything that was meant to be taken away from Rhea Ripley. Ripley doesn't need it anymore, but mommy is not going to leave things undone. So
no,
Liv is near her day of reckoning, and I think having a bodyguard would do her some justice. Really do.
Honestly, I think it would do the entire storyline justice. I think that it gives you, not saying that the storyline couldn't move without it. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that I feel like that it adds another wrinkle that makes things more interesting.
And it would make Liv Morgan even more untouchable. Then that makes you only hate her even more because you can't break through an unbreakable wall. That's Raquel Rodriguez. So
all right, I want to talk about this. I want to get your thoughts on this, Annie, because I know you're a big Terra Twin supporter. I'm seeing it in the comments on IG. I see it on X. When I go around and I'm seeing it. There's a growing thought now that maybe Liv and Dom aren't wrong. Maybe Rhea and Damian were actually the wrong ones because he started to get a big head and take over the group. And, Rhea Ripley was sitting over there abusing Dom and whatnot. And it's still up in the air if he liked it or not. I mean, that's not the conversation here. But with you being such a Terra Twin supporter, I want to get your thoughts on this growing thought within the IWC that maybe Rhea and Damian are actually in the wrong here.
You know what? We will always be wrong in someone else's interpretation of us. What we think might not actually be true in the grand scheme. You know what? From Damian Priest's perspective, maybe he felt like he wanted to take on the majority of the responsibility for the rest of his family because that's what Damian Priest does. And you know what? And if that was really such a point of contention from Finn Balor, why didn't he say anything? Why didn't he check someone who is supposedly his brother? Families hold each other accountable. So maybe it's just humans being human, and each person has a different interpretation of what really occurred. Because without an open line of communication, everyone is going to have their own belief of what's going on, and it's like if you don't talk about resentments, they're going to boil over. Things are going to crack at the foundation. So
that's true.
You can't rewrite what's going to happen. You just can't, because destiny always will be that destiny. And if things are meant to fall apart, they will. Maybe it was intended for Rhea and Priest to, like, nothing lasts forever. Groups form and join every day. Civilizations rise and fall each day. I don't like.
True. I
can have my opinions, but I prefer to be objective of everything because, everyone has their interpretation of the truth, and both can be true and false at the same time.
And you got Tony here saying, I can make an argument for Liv, but in Dom's case, you can't kidnap the willing. My God.
You know what? Dom needed a thrill. He got one.
He sure did. Oh, man.
And he probably could have said no if he wanted to, but he didn't, okay? So.
Mistakes were made. These things happen.
I think he liked it.
I
he just
believe
wants to put
so.
on that air that, oh, mommy kidnapped me. Oh.
Yeah, he's playing the victim.
I'm not falling for it. One.
I love to see it. I
don't believe Dom's victimhood at all. I'm not victim shaming, but it's Dominic Mysterio, and the pattern never lies. Just saying.
You can't believe nothing this guy says. He's the smarmiest of heels out there right now. I love it.
Dirty mullet madness. I don't trust guys with pinky rings and mullets, okay?
Let me not even get started about the stash. That stash is ridiculous.
It makes him even more punchable.
I think that's what he's going for. I truly believe
it's successful. Like, I get worked all the time. Like I do, but that just means I care, I'm emotionally invested. That's the entire point. But each time I see Dom's stupid face,
I think the entire WWE universe agrees with you. I really do. They love to boo this guy.
Did you also find it satisfying when Rhea headbutted Dom? It wasn't just me.
Yeah, I mean it's great to see guys like that get their comeuppance, but I still feel like there's more coming. Somebody's gonna get a riptide. It's gonna happen. Oh,
and you know what? I wanted to talk about the symbolism at the end of that segment with the Judgment Day standing strong, because Rhea and Damian they're being billed as pillars, right? The Terror Twins. So when they were both laid flat, both of them were supporting each other.
Yeah.
Like just the symbolism that was really written in that storyline, I really thought it was super impactful. That's just something I wanted to throw in
Yeah,
there.
no. Just another once again, just another good wrinkle into the story. Seeing these two come together and grow and bring that real life friendship. And okay, so this is the last thing that I'll bring up because it's kind of starting to grow because we got to move on to our next thing we're going to talk about here. But I want to ask, do you feel like Finn Balor, and I know it's only been a couple of weeks, but with the trajectory that Rhea and Damian have been on, do you feel like Finn Balor is bigger now than he was even before SummerSlam?
Yes, I do. I think Finn Balor's booking is giving him exactly what he needs right now. Because without a really strong push, I feel like Finn Balor really falls into obscurity. I think it's easy for him to be... he's a phenomenal wrestler, but is he memorable? So I think for such a big event, for him to be put over as a huge backstabber and the person you need to keep your eye on, I thought it was the right point in time for that storyline to be written.
Yeah. I want to see what happens with Finn after this is over. That's always going to be my next thing because I think there's so many places you can go with Rhea, so many places you can go with Damian, and you're always going to have different avenues with somebody like Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio is somebody that's always going, because everybody's always going to want to see him get the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah, he's a little cockroach.
Exactly. He can, exactly. That's him. And like the thing is, the storyline for him for a while until people get hip to it and like, okay, we want to see him do something different, is that it's always going to be him being that little cockroach that you want to see get the shit kicked out of. So like, you're always going to have ways to go with him. It almost feels like that Miz role, because Miz was that for a while. He was that cockroach that you wanted to see get the shit kicked out of him, and then he was able to grow his character and do different things from it. But no, my thing is, what's going to be next for Finn after this? Because I want good things for him, and I think he's a phenomenal wrestler. I mean, just great. But like, what's next for him? So that's my thing. Because I'm always going to ask what's next. That's always going to be the question. And that's. But another thing I want to know, moving along here, is what's next for Pete Dunne and Sheamus, because we saw those two go at it and they had a really, really great match. And I like the story behind this match. I like the finish too. The finish was great, with Sheamus getting his hand stuck in the turnbuckle, his broken hand stuck in the turnbuckle, and Pete Dunne was taking advantage of it, but it just ended up being raw power by Sheamus to just rip that turnbuckle off, hit Pete Dunne with the big kick there, the big bicycle kick, and boom, 1, 2, 3. Do you think that Pete Dunne's stock is starting to rise now that he's having these matches on Raw with Sheamus, starting his feud with Sheamus, and even still in the main event of last night's NXT? Do you feel like his stock is starting to rise a little bit?
I do, and it's about damn time. This man does a lot. He's a natural. He really is. Everything that he is put in, he succeeds, even when it sucks. So someone who can make the best and take the best of it and put it and make it go to the next level is someone worth keeping your eye on. You know, Pete Dunne, how long has he been active? He's had a really, really long
time.
Right. And it's about time for his talents to get showcased. Like, just his finesse as he falls through the air, and he can tell stories without even opening his mouth. Like, there's just the way he emotes. Like, he looks good with his ass getting kicked, and he does it pretty impactfully himself. And I feel like he needs a different haircut. Just like whoever cut his hair the last time, like, they didn't like him very much. Like his lineup was a couple weeks past the time. Like, he really needed to
get touched up.
Right. But also, I think he's one of the only wrestlers I see wearing a mouth guard. That's smart.
There's not a lot out
That's
there.
smart.
Yes.
So, yeah. What did you think about the usage of the turnbuckle to ensnare Sheamus's hand?
I loved it. I thought, and Tony said it here in the comments here. He said he loved that match. It was physical, and that's exactly what I expected from these two. I really love the use of the turnbuckle to trap Sheamus's broken hand there. Once again, like I said before, I love the fact that he pulled it off and just out of sheer like strength and frustration, just pulled it off and finished the match. But like I loved it. It was unique. It's not something you're seeing every other week on any wrestling, is that type of usage of it. So when you do get a chance to see it, it's always like, oh, that's innovative, that's smart, like that was good stuff. So I enjoyed it. And once again, I think commentary was very, very gracious with Pete Dunne. They were talking about how this was a great outing by him and how good he looked. I think that they're going to try to find a way to do something with Pete Dunne. I know I don't want to say that they haven't tried. They've tried to do a lot of stop and restarts with Pete Dunne, whether it be him as the Bruiserweight or him having to be Butch and the Brawling Brutes, or going to a tag team with, Tyler Bate, and them just keep trying to go back to the well, whether he has to go back to NXT. They keep going back to the well with Pete Dunne. And first off, that shows me that they like him and they want to use him and they want him out there on TV.
It's on the right trajectory.
Yeah. They wouldn't keep trying if they didn't like him. You know what I'm saying?
Because whatever, it hasn't been pulled out of Pete Dunne yet, it will be. Like this time next year, Pete Dunne will come onto the scene in a whole new way.
I think so too. There's the thing with Pete Dunne is that he's such for the longest time in his career, that is, his whole thing is I'm the indie darling. You know what I'm saying? I'm the guy that I'm going to come in British strong style. I could bang with you. I can joint manipulation. I could manipulate your joints. And that's really the big thing with Pete Dunne is his unique joint manipulation. But we got to, especially when it comes to those main shows, we got to care. We got to connect. And I think they were trying to find ways. I think it hasn't been found yet, but when it does, most definitely, I can see him touching gold in the next couple of years. And I don't mean just NXT gold, respectfully. I mean main roster type gold. So, yeah, I think this was a good match, a good step in the right direction for somebody like Pete Dunne. And Sheamus is doing a great job doing the honors and putting the light on younger talent. And speaking of that, we saw a match between Maxine Dupree and Ivy Nile, and these two went up against each other as they're friends. Now, Ivy Nile was now a part of American Made, which, I called that months ago that she was going to join, that was coming. And now she's going up against Maxine Dupree. And Maxine Dupree actually kind of showed me something a little bit earlier in this match. I think she's starting to get a little bit more confident. She was pretty aggressive early on in the match, and I liked it. But of course, as we both know, that's not the story of this match. The story of this match is, once again, the lights going out, and we see another appearance from the Wyatt Six. It always stays one of the biggest things on the show that I like to see and that I'm looking out for. What do you think about the appearance of the Wyatt Six and everything that came around it?
First of all, I really appreciated seeing Maxine Dupree in a new light. I really discounted for her just based on her size and the type of in-ring performer I thought she was. She really surprised me. I felt like she could, hold her own against someone like Ivy Nile. Ivy's going to be something special in the next 2 years. She's on a really dominant streak, and I love her placed in American Made. I think that's a really good spot for her. But Nikki Cross freaks me out. She really does.
Love it.
Like, that's something that is forged in my neural pathways. Like, that's the sleep paralysis demon that's just like lurking in my peripheral, and I'm like, I can't fully see it, and it disappears each time I like try and look. Like, that's the kind of energy that Nikki Cross has to me right now. And she's thinking she's Sister Abigail. Like, it's nightmare fuel, Con. It's nightmare fuel.
Yeah, it is. I enjoyed it. So going back to Ivy Nile real quick, just because it was something that I noticed when she was coming out. I love Ivy Nile. I love the fact that she's this pit bull. Like, and I think I'm with you. I think she's going to be something big in the next 2 years. I would like to see her work on her facial expressions a little bit more. Because sometimes it feels like I kind of want to see her emote a little bit. And she like
she's smiling when she's in danger. Like, I mean, like, sometimes I laugh in like nervous situations. Like, I'm always going to crack a joke at a funeral. Like, that's just the type of person I am. But I simulate violence all the time. Like, I put myself in high intense situations just to see what I can do, how I'm going to think, how I'm going to react. Like, but I'm not smiling. I'm not happy to be in that situation. Like, okay, do something. Like, show concern, show distress. Like, someone wants to fight you. Someone wants to take your head off.
Yeah. Just a couple comments here. Roger saying he'd like to see Pete Dunne versus Bronson Reed for the IC title. That'd be good.
That'd be really good.
For sure. And OG Tony is saying he likes the pace that they're moving with the Wyatt 6. I agree. I honestly think that the Wyatt segment was probably my favorite segment on this past Raw. And another thing that I noticed is that Bo Dallas looked like he's been in the gym. His arms were looking massive. My God.
He has. Like, this has really sparked something that we've been needing to see from Bo Dallas for a very long time. Just like when someone finds that spark, like, and they take it and they really hit their ground running, like, that's magic right there. Okay, sure. I wanted to ask you something. So, Wyatt 6 is looking strong and they're dominating, right? So being swept the way that American Made is right now, underneath the feet of Wyatt 6, what do you think this says for their credibility, American Made?
Well, that's a tough question because I do not like the idea of, as much as I love the Wyatt 6, they're awesome. One of my favorite things on Monday Night Raw. I don't like the idea of them like so quickly, completely dominating another new faction that's came around.
You feel like they're getting squashed?
I don't want to say they're getting squashed. I don't want to say that, but I feel like that they're definitely going to be under in this feud. And I feel like that they're doing it not only because it's a great opportunity to work with the Wyatt 6 and why would you not want to work with them? Like, you want to do that. But I feel like it's on good faith that something for American Made is going to be coming later. Maybe they become the tag team champion. Maybe the Creeds become the tag team champions. And then at the same time, you have Chad Gable maybe touch some Intercontinental Championship gold. You can do that in the Netflix era. I think that'd be cool. And then just have them be really dominant as a mid-card stable, because by that time we'll probably be turned over to a point where it's like, okay, we might need another mid-card, maybe main event-ish top stable. Yeah, if at that point next year we dissolve the Judgment Day. But I just feel like they're doing it on good faith that things are going to come to them later. But initially, I don't like, because I didn't like it with the Pride Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits when they were feuding with the Final Testament, and they were both new stables at the same time feuding with each other. So it's like it's not good for it. Like nobody could really afford a loss, but that wasn't this though. This is a little bit different because like I don't think it's about wins and losses. I think it's about the story and the pride. And let's face it, the Pride in the Final Testament, when they was feuding, there was absolutely no story. It was just two groups going up against each other that probably could have benefited from a win to help their momentum moving forward. But once again, this situation here is more about the story, wins and losses, and maybe the Wyatt Six can't be undefeated, so they're going to taste defeat at some point. But like, this is the story here, is that they're really coming after American Made, and maybe American Made can pick up a victory in time against the Wyatt Six, because once again, like I said, the wins and losses aren't mattering in this feud to me.
So, okay, I have a question. Like, I like the components of American Made. I love the Creed brothers and Chad Gable. I think that's, I wish it would have been something called like the Gable Stable or something.
Yeah.
Do you think the American shtick as a gimmick is a little tired right now? Or do you think they're called the American Made because they are Olympians and they're gold? Like, that's the aura that they exude.
I think it's more that. I think that it's more that, especially like they really came up with their name like around the time of the Olympics. So they were kind of like, all right, everybody's swept up in USA fever because, everybody in the United States, when it comes to the Olympics, we got to be the best at everything,
sure.
So they was all swept up. Hell, I was even swept up in the Olympics,
Chad Gable, he delivered a promo from Paris while the Olympics were playing. So, okay, that makes more sense because I feel like I had a different interpretation than what they really were. So I just really wanted to.
I get you. I get where you're coming from. I honestly think they're writing that with him having connections to the Olympics and being a former Olympian himself. I just think they're trying to be like, okay, this is the right time to bring this in because everybody's swept up in the Olympics. Guess what? Our guy, Chad Gable, he's a former Olympian. Let's have him bring it in like he's the coach of this almost. So it's like a wrestling school is what I see it as. And Chad Gable's the coach. And it was kind of what they were doing with the Alpha Academy, but less goofier because the students in this academy are serious athletes, serious competitors, collegiate style athletes that he can mold. And I think that that's very much the lane that they're going in with that, where it's like, I'm building my team here to be, professional athletes in my school here, not some goofballs like Otis who flops his belly around and does the worm, or somebody who's just worried about her looks like Maxine, or somebody that just dances around like Tozawa. I want serious students that are serious competitors. And I think that's in his mind what he's got. And once again, I just think that them being American Made, while I'm not in love with the name myself, I thought it should have been another. I thought it should have been another like play on the academy, but also I think maybe they're trying to get away from that whole academy gimmick because of Chase U and NXT, and they don't want to have two like collegiate type gimmicks going on at the same time. So once again, not in love with the name, but I think I understand the pivot.
Sure.
So that's just my thoughts on that. We gotta move along here because I want to talk a little bit of Bronson Reed. I mean, Bronson Reed has become such a pivotal part of the show, and I say that because I look for what he's doing now a lot. Like when I'm like, oh, what's Bronson? How many tsunamis is somebody getting tonight? It's become a thing, and like I also like the way that they played it on commentary, and also I like the fact that we're still seeing some of the Miz pull out some new stuff and give his greatest hits. I like the promo that he delivered, him being the Miz to Adam Pearce right before he came out. saying that
So
he feels
good.
like he's like he has to do it. He has to do it for his friend, and he don't got a lot. He even acknowledges like, I don't got a lot of friends in that locker room, but the what few that I do have, I'm gonna do everything I can for him. So he went out there and he was ready to fight. He came out there, didn't do his little twirl or anything like that. He was ready to fight, and like even though it still led to a loss to him for him, I think that he looked good in the match. The match was pretty fun for what it was, being an ODQ match, and. Once again, I just feel like the trajectory that we're going with Bronson Reed is really good. Even Cole on commentary was like, you can't really suspend the guy because he's become such an attraction internationally with his, Symphony of Tsunamis. People are looking for that now. And I'm like, how incredibly aware was that? Oh, how much incredible awareness was that from Michael Cole to be like, hey, you can suspend this guy, but then it's like you're taking away an attraction on the show because people were digging it, because they are. It's a real thing. People like the Symphony of Tsunami. So what's your thoughts on not just The Miz and still really keeping things going with him and his career, even though he's probably in like last maybe like 3-4 years of his career, but also like the trajectory that Bronson Reed is on right now?
First of all, I want to preface my statement by saying that Adam Pearce's spine is melting like butter in the microwave.
Yep.
So I'm just going to call out the hypocrisy in that he suspended an unhinged Drew McIntyre, which was, you're going to show your hand as the authority. Yep. But then Bronson Reed starts hijacking the matches and taking out high-profile people, and it's just like, it's an attraction. Why not? Let the kids fight. I'm like, okay, all right, cool, yep.
He's losing control.
I see you. You're just a puppet. Okay. Anyway, but I really loved that. The Miz had an out, and he didn't take it. He really wanted to stand up to someone who he thought it was a noble fight. He wanted to take a stand for something he really believed in. I mean, I feel like that's far and few between in the wrestling business. There are really few people who I call a friend, and I feel like, you take someone out like R-Truth, like, justice should be made. And even though it felt like he was going to stare down the barrel of a loaded gun, he proceeded onwards. And, I really commend The Miz for having that courage. Yeah. Now, Bronson Reed, on the other hand, he emerges from beneath the earth's crust like a kaiju. Yes. Like he's got big Godzilla energy. And once his eyes go black, bodies just start hitting the floor. And yeah. I love it. He's gaining a lot of upwards momentum from the fans in the crowd, and I like the power he has. He's crisp, he's fluid, and the Tsunamis are really entertaining. I love looking at The Miz like he is the last bit of toothpaste in the tube of toothpaste being spilled out. That was really entertaining to me. And I really liked how Miz had to do a series of actions to even stun Bronson Reed just a little bit. Like, there were a couple trouble moments for Bronson Reed, but he's not going to be taken down easily. So I really feel like the selling on the Miz's part was just phenomenal. Just for Bronson Reed just to execute a few simple moves, but the Miz made them look like so over the top, so dominating. And I just think the Miz is a really good person to do that, to make someone look like the monster that they are. And I really like Bronson Reed. I like big, powerful people who can knock the earth off its axis. I love it. So,
and that's exactly him. That's exactly him for sure. I enjoy it. I can definitely see future great things for him because they finally found a lane with him. Like they were putting him in matches and stuff, and like he's actually been on the card like for a while. It's just they haven't really found something really to do with him. And now that they're like, okay, let's just see you go out there and do this tsunami to people, and like you did it to a national treasure like R-Truth. Of course, you're gonna get a reaction out of that, and like. I just love the lane that they're going with him right now. It works for him. It's believable. And it once again, Pierce just seems like he's lost control of the situation. But it's going to be interesting to see what's next for Bronson Reed here because it seems like he's going to be walking into a feud with, another Braun, Braun Strowman. And that's going to be really interesting. I don't know. We don't need all these Brauns.
I confuse easily, Con.
Well, you got 3 Brauns. It's easy to confuse. It's easy to get confused with 3 Brauns on the roster.
I know. This is ridiculous. Bronson, Braun, and they're spelled differently.
Yeah.
Come on. My little baby brain can't keep up. I get tongue-tied, okay? I can't help it.
So now we're going to see Braun versus Bronson. This is ridiculous.
Is it going to be a competition to see who's Braun-er?
I see what you did there.
Okay,
yes,
Braun Strowman is not intimidating when he runs.
No. No. Okay, so let me ask you this, because it's been on my mind for a little bit. What do you think about this sporadic booking of Braun Strowman? Because sometimes he'll be on the show, then you won't see him for a few weeks, and then he just randomly shows up. It's like, I don't know. I don't understand his booking right now.
You know what? And that might be a case of there are too many people on the roster and not enough spots because we're so in a place in time where so many different storylines are unfolding. So how do you give TV time to someone like Braun Strowman and use him if he's not pulling his weight in a faction? So I think it's an interesting move to put him in the path of Bronson Reed. I think that's a really good booking decision, but I really do feel like he needs to be put in the right place. But I don't like the sporadic booking. He's talented. He can do things. So let him do things.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird to me. It might be like you're saying that they're just they're trying to find a spot. And I get it. You got the best talent in the world. They bring in all the best talents from around the world to try to, and I get it. It's hard to find something for everybody. That's why, you have to send top-notch talents back to NXT sometimes. Maybe talents that are considered top-notch are only getting opportunities on main event or speed or something like that. And it's it feels like an insult, but it's with everybody at the top right now, with everybody, especially Monday Night Raw, because Monday Night Raw is across the board with just incredible talent, and it's honestly starting to get that way with SmackDown too, because things are starting to kind of marinate a little bit on the SmackDown.
It's overloading.
Side. Yeah, and it's somebody's got to be a catering. Somebody, right. That's just how it is. Not everybody's going to get run, and I understand it. It sucks because especially if you're a performer, you want to be out there. You want those opportunities. You want those chances to go out there and wrestle and get out in front of the crowd and be hey, this is who I am. So that way they have a chance to connect with you. Because at the end of the day, the name of the game is how many people can I get to care about me? And you want that. It's not even really about championships, because if you can make people care, if you can connect with people, championships are going to come. That's going to happen. It's just all about connecting and getting people to care about your journey and what you're doing. And if you can do that, then you've got it down packed. And to tie this up in a little knot, I think that's what's happening with Bronson Reed right now. I think there's a reason to care about what Bronson Reed is doing right now.
And you never know when he's going to appear. You can't control him. Have you ever tried to contain a kaiju? How does it go? You're really angry. Have you ever tried to put pajamas on a rigid toddler?
That I have tried to do.
same energy. Same energy.
Yes.
But and you bring up a good point of how Braun Strowman is being used. How can people miss you if you don't go away?
Good. Yep. That's good. That's
And
a good
it's
point
so
too.
interesting because, like, yes, you want as many eyes on you as possible, but sometimes, like, more is less and less is more. Like, take into account, like, how Roman Reigns was used over the last 3 years and how many appearances he's had as champion. You couldn't please everyone. You couldn't, because it's, oh, he's a part-time champion. And then, like, things happen and he's no longer a champion and people are like, hey, he's not a champion. He's my acknowledgement. I acknowledge him as my, like, people don't know what they want, and I don't know. I don't know how you please the masses. I can't, so I stopped trying.
Fickle. Wrestling fans are fickle.
Yes, they really are.
It'll always be that way. I don't see that changing anytime soon. There'll be some things that we all agree on, but then, like, look at Cody, for example. We all loved the journey of him finishing the story. Now that he's presumably finished that story and he's champion, everybody's like, oh, Cody Rhodes is a boring champion. This title reign's been this and this and that. And it's like, man, you wanted it so bad and now it's here and you boo-booed on it. So, like, you're never gonna win. That's just how it is.
Like, I don't think people realize that it's the chase. It's the chase that made that story so alluring, so emotionally
that's true.
connecting. But
That's
now
all
that they
facts.
got what they wanted, they don't want it anymore. It was hot for like 5 seconds, and then their short attention span wasn't
On
stimulated.
to the next
enough.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, that's how it
Like,
goes. That is
Yesterday's DoorDash or whatever.
yeah, it's the truth. But we still got a couple things to talk about on Monday Night Raw. A lot of things happening. We had a women's tag team match. We have to talk a little bit about the New Day CM Punk promo. A match was set up that we're gonna have to talk about. But before we do that, we're gonna take a little break here. We're gonna pay a few bills, and when we come back, we're going to continue our talk on Monday Night Raw.
A-N-I-S. Anus. Bam. 800 points. That's game.
It's not how you spell anus.
I went to Ivy Tech for 2.5 years, bro. I can spell anus.
You know what? I know an expert in this field.
I think I know who you're talking about.
What are you guys doing? We gotta go play Harvest Fest. I'm in here getting all of our gear, and you guys are here playing Scrabble? Again?
You know what, Maddie? You can settle this for us.
Yeah. How do you spell anus?
I'm not gonna settle another Scrabble discrepancy for you guys. That's the 3rd time this week.
Calm down, Maddie. Harvest Fest isn't until September 14th. Gates open at 4 p.m.
Yeah. At the Miami Open Air Auditorium. Google for directions.
Are you telling me that Harvest Fest X is not until September 14th? Featuring bands such as Fourth Among Midgets, Forgotten Ashes, Tight Like a Tiger, GPD, Resonate, and Patron? September 14th?
I'm hungry.
Shut up! There's gonna be food at Harvest Fest. The lunch break's coming down, and they're gonna make delicious burgers!
I'm not having fun anymore.
Fun? You wanna have fun? Well, I got a doozy for you, because the Kokomo Press is coming out, and they're gonna have stand-up comedians. We're talking Sean D., Pierce Clott, Michael Howard, Greg Lindberg, Alexa Eden, Davey Moomaw, Jordan Granger, Jacob Harder, Brian Allen West, and Dan Alton.
Say it, don't spray it.
Maddie! Bro.
Since you put it that way, bro. You know, you're right. You guys... I'm sorry, guys. I shouldn't have blown off the handle like that. Here's how you spell anus. A-N-U-S. Just think about it like I do. The way I remember it, it's an United States, right? So, anyways, I'll see you guys September 14th at Harvest Fest X at the Miami Open Air Auditorium. Google for directions.
Bring a tent.
I don't get it. In United States.
Welcome back to In Your House. And guys, check out everything they're doing. Harvest Fest X. That's going to be great. If you are around the Kokomo area, go check that out. Hey, they're going to have a great time. And you will too if you go to it. But we're having a great time, myself and my co-host, Annie O'Neal, as we're giving you guys the raw deal. And we talked about a lot of things already on this Monday Night Raw. But one thing that we didn't talk about, who's always in the conversation when he shows up, and that's CM Punk. And CM Punk came out, and as soon as I saw him come out with that strap in hand, I knew exactly what we were getting. And, he cut. I like the promo that he cut too, as far as like acknowledging all the bracelets that he got from fans and so many fans coming from different areas just to come and talk to him and how much that means to him. And to me, that felt real because I believe what he's saying when he says that. I really do. I like the direction. I like the idea of having a strap match with these two because I think we both felt like the feud was going to continue. So what are you thinking about CM Punk and his promo, Drew McIntyre, and the role that he's playing in this and us getting a strap match?
I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan, so don't come for me, people in the audience. But when he said he was Taylor Swift for men, I'm like,
yeah, I remember that. I was like,
not feeling it, CM Punk. But just the way that he can speak to people on such a grand scale. Just he's so aware of the words and how they make people feel. Like he's as face as a face could be, and he's just so skilled at it. Because he is that person. You can tell he has a blast in the photo op pictures that I see on Facebook from fans. I just think it's awesome. And I love the idea of a strap match. Both of these men hate each other. So why not see what happens when both of them are tied together?
Yeah.
It sounds like pure chaos. I can't wait. And I honestly don't think that Drew is going to be phased after what happened last week. Like, it really, I feel like it takes a lot to register anything that comes on Drew McIntyre's radar. I think it takes a lot for him to get him to care about something. But once it's locked in, like, he's not letting go. And I feel like CM Punk, that resonates with him on a very similar level. That's why they're just so cohesive together. Like two sides of an opposing force. I just think it's really interesting in their dynamic. I love how Drew was like, all of these names we talk about so much wrestling. Drew was like, yeah, of course I want in for a strap match.
Yeah. I want to ask this to Grun. What do you not like about the win condition? You don't like the touching of the four corners? Is that something that's got you like, Lou says that Punk had a great strap match with MJF. He's wondering if he could do it again with McIntyre. I think that he can. And Grun's saying he's sure that he can. I bet he wanted a dog collar match. They probably said they can't do that, but they can do a strap match. And then Voice says, and he said Drew is slow. He said it takes him a little bit to register things, and you cleaned it up and said it in a nice way, and we appreciate that. So okay, it was the four corner things that you don't like. Got it. Okay, I just want to be clear about that. I think that this is I think it's still going to be a good match, honestly, Annie. But I don't think that it's going to be the end of it. I think this thing's going to continue. So let me ask you, because I want your thoughts on it. At what point do Drew McIntyre and CM Punk part ways from each other? Because even after the strap match, it feels like there's still going to be meat left on that bone. Where do you think this pops at? This is it,
You know, it depends on the degree to which the violence is unleashed at Bash in Berlin. Um, Both CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, they are obstinate people. Um, how personal can it get? And I think the result of that is going to determine how long we will see them in matches together. I think different things need to happen to keep the storyline fresh and interesting, because a damn bracelet, really? Like, that is the motive that drives both of these insufferable men to do the things that they're doing. Like, I feel like more has to be interjected in the storyline for it to still be fresh and
yeah,
interesting.
that's a good. Yeah.
Because
No,
I
I
love
think you make a
CM
good
Punk,
point.
I love Drew McIntyre, but what can we do to really perpetuate what we're seeing in this feud? What can make it even more interesting?
So it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with the Judgment Day. If they were to add Raquel Rodriguez, if they did that, like that would be another interesting wrinkle that would help like continue the story. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But like, what is that thing in this feud that can add another wrinkle? Sean Tyler comes in. He says they made the bracelet mean more than some of their titles, though. I think that's a good point. I think you can I hold on to that because you got something right there. Because the point that's being made there, I believe, is that even though it is just over a bracelet, it's the meaning behind the bracelet that is making them like, okay, I'm pissed off because he showed you on Monday Night Raw. He had like a handful of bracelets of people that made from him, or people that made them for him on during his time meeting with fans. But like the reason why that one is so important, because it represents his family as he knows it, which is his wife and his dog, and I think that that's the closeness that is made from it. But on the flip side of things, I think you make a good point that there needs to be more on the line. Like once Punk gets his bracelet back, us like that's the end of the storyline, is that he got his bracelet back. That feels flat, like
Right.
I think there has to be another component, and like
Because
I
both
think
of them have the propensity for a long time storytelling. But what is going to keep me caring? Like whether someone makes a return, someone debuts. Like I feel like there needs to be different things interjected because I love CM Punk and Drew McIntyre going back and forth.
yeah.
I love how CM Punk can reduce things on a cellular level, and I love how Drew can take something and make it expand to an even greater level. Like they both have this push and pull mechanism that I enjoy, but something has to keep me caring.
Yeah. And so here's my idea. Maybe it seems like they've been going to Chicago a lot, and I'm sure they're going to go again sometime between now and like Survivor Series. So like, and I'm trying to think about it how WWE would do it, and it'd be like in the WWE way, and like as tasteful as they want it to be. So like maybe they're in Chicago, and it's maybe like a week or so, maybe a couple weeks before Survivor Series. They're gonna go at it again, or their intent is to go at it again. But it's like they haven't touched each other for a while. The feud feels cooled off. Maybe they're in Chicago, and maybe AJ Lee is in the crowd, and she's in the crowd, and CM Punk comes out to cut a promo in front of his people, in front of his wife, and rah, yada yada yada. Out comes Drew McIntyre. They go back and forth for something. He makes a reference to AJ Lee, maybe some kind of sexual innuendo, something like that, or whatever. If you want to go home with the real man, you can come home with Drew McIntyre, blah, 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 whatever.
Because he said something to that nature in one of his promos.
Exactly.
Yes, he's incredibly intentional, and I love that about Drew McIntyre. But so is CM Punk.
Yeah. But once to stay with what I'm saying here, like the idea is like maybe they start scrapping or something, and like something happens, and maybe because we kind of saw this. Oof, I don't know if they do this in this day and age. I know they did it with Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho, but I don't know if they do it. So like they're out the outside of the ring fighting, and they're fighting in front of AJ Lee, and maybe it's a situation where Drew punches and CM Punk moves out of the way and AJ catches it. And there's a hush that goes over. And even Drew was like,
Oh,
that is not what I meant to do. And then Punk is like, he sees his wife got hit, and everybody's like, AJ's down, and I feel like there would be a hush over the crowd, and like you would even see Drew like maybe like look at his fist or something, like back away and like start to head towards gorilla position. He's like, "What did I just do? What did I just do?" And Punk is like going crazy, but he's not trying to leave his wife's side, so he's not attacking. He's not attacking Drew as Drew walks up the pathway back to Gorilla, thinking about that was not my intention, blah blah blah, and boom! All of a sudden, this rivalry is on another level. Now, I don't want to see anybody get struck in the mouth, especially not in the way that I think it was Shawn Michaels' wife at the time who took it back when that big feud with Chris Jericho and I remember that feud with Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels. I don't know if they want to do that, but it's just an idea, and maybe they do it tasteful. Maybe he pushes Punk into AJ instead of like a full-on hit, to not make it like the violence that they don't want to be seen on USA Network or something. But I just feel like something like that would help take that feud to the next level.
I think if AJ Lee were to take that hit, I think that would, as much as it looks like violence, it's really good business.
I think so too.
I think so too. And like, who better to sell it than someone who is so small in stature and like AJ Lee?
And she'll sell it like a champ.
Obviously, she's a badass, but like she looks like a small, defenseless person, especially in comparison to how tall Drew McIntyre is.
Yeah. Yep.
Like just the visual stimulation it's going to give the viewer and how it's going to make them register what they just saw. Yes. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, even commentary, like Michael Cole on commentary is like shocked, like, oh my, we never want to see something like this happen. Like, blah, blah, blah. And not just the fact that because she's a woman, but because she's just an innocent bystander in the crowd at the time. We all know AJ Lee and who she is. She's truly a badass. But in the role that she'd be playing in that situation, she would just be the wife of the guy in the ring. Who's
wife,
coming.
Right.
Exactly. So her being there, nobody would expect her to take a punch. So if that happened, it would be like, oh, this storyline is now, boom, we're on another level. So I'm with you in the way of like, this strap match is probably going to be great, but then it's like, what is going to be the next wrinkle in this feud that's going to keep it fresh? Because I think there's still meat on the bone, but like,
I think so too.
If the only thing we're fighting over is just a bracelet, it's like there needs to be more on the line, I believe.
I think one of the patterns of the average wrestling fan, they love the storylines that we've been given, but how long term do they need to be?
You're right.
Because I don't think
a happy medium.
Right, because the attention span is drawing shorter every day. So how do we keep people invested? They want storylines, but how long can you keep their energy focused without getting
not everything is the bloodline storyline.
Right.
Not everything is Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley.
Because even that has its expiration date.
Yep.
Like, how can we build up people? How can we carry this on? But you know, and I really feel like I love CM Punk and I love Drew McIntyre. I love their storyline, but exactly, how do you keep it going without it feeling like it's being drawn out?
Yeah, that's the big question right there. Because like this is with okay, I'm just gonna say it like
Mm-hmm.
I was a huge I'm still a big CM Punk fan. Love
Mm-hmm.
CM Punk. I was locked in. I was locked in for the summer of Punk. Like locked in. Like true story. Like I remember watching on my phone, you know what I'm saying, just living, you know, like, the life wasn't as good as it was now, you know, we all struggle and whatnot, but like I remember watching just like clips on my phone because I ain't had no cable or nothing like that, and I was like watching Punk do the pipe bomb promo on my phone, and I'm like, this is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen like done at this point in wrestling. So like I've always been a fan of his, even his Ring of Honor days. My thing is the the clock is ticking, like for CM Punk. Like he doesn't have a whole lot of years left in him, and like there's a plethora of talent he could be working with, and the only person he's worked with in the last year is Drew McIntyre.
Do
And
you think that's the purpose why he's only working with Drew McIntyre? Because maybe that's the thought behind the booking, the decision making.
maybe I know it's probably tied into his injury. Nobody expected him to get injured
Sure.
at the Royal Rumble, but like I just feel like there's so many people that want to mix it up with Punk, and like this is why I don't think John Cena is going to really be able to commit to a single storyline during his last year,
Agreed.
next year, because there's so many
Mhm.
people that's going to want to work with him. And like, there's so many people that want to work with CM Punk, and CM Punk has already, you know, proven himself that he's kind of injury prone. Like he took a bad injury that cost him a lot of time in AEW, an injury that cost him quite a few months in WWE. You're starting to see that he's not in the shape that he used to be in. So like, I don't want to see him just mix it up with Drew McIntyre when there's so many others on the roster that I feel like he can get something out of before his time is done. So that's my thoughts on it. Lou says here he definitely like to see Punk move on to someone else after the match with McIntyre. While I agree with you, Lou, I still think they're gonna go that lane, bro. I really do. I think they're staying with Punk and McIntyre, and it's gonna end up doing now. Okay, this right here. Rumor is they're ending this feud at Bad Blood in Hell in a Cell. There we go. That's it. That's what we got to do. Because every blood feud that ended up being a big old thing, it ended in Hell in a Cell. And if they're gonna do it at Bad Blood, which is a great pay-per-view name for this specific feud, if you're gonna do it at Hell in a Cell, I wouldn't even have like. Maybe one title match. I probably wouldn't put the Universal title on the line on this show. Maybe the World Heavyweight title match. But that Hell in a Cell match got to end the show.
Mm-hmm.
It has to. It has to end the show. So, like, I think that's the right lane right there, in my opinion. But we'll see where it goes with that.
Do you think the fan response is changing behind CM Punk?
That's another interesting question.
I feel like this is a pattern that I've been noticing, and I think I might have said it last week, but I feel like it was really apparent on this episode of Raw. People love Punk. They do.
Yep. But they also want to like McIntyre too.
I just feel like there's some type of momentum being lost behind CM Punk right now.
I think it's because he's coming out and just talking week after week after week. And once again, love Punk, and he probably don't give a crap about what I got to say, and that's okay. But like, all you're doing is coming out and talking about your intentions every single week. Like, he hasn't even had give me a match on Monday Night Raw. Like, could he not give us a main event on Monday Night Raw, or maybe just like a mid-card match just to be like, hey, I'm still that guy, like he doesn't wrestle. And like, I understand they're trying to keep him as an attraction, but it's like every now and again, it's like, can he come out and just do his whole thing? I'm tired of seeing this guy in street clothes. Like, I just want to see him build his way up through the card. I think that's where my disconnect is a little bit with Punk right now, is that he's so tied up with McIntyre that it's like, okay, but why can't we see CM Punk in like the world heavyweight title mix at some point? That's not even a focus for him. But the only way he would have to do that is like, I would like to see him get a few matches on like a random Monday Night Raw and start gaining some momentum. But all he's doing is coming out and talking, you know. So like McIntyre, we know what McIntyre did in the last couple of years. We'll know he'll have we'll know he's going to have matches. We know he's going to, you know, have promos and whatnot. In the last few years, he's shown that he's going to do the work on the roster. But like Punk is just like, bro, you're just talking. I want to see you do a little bit more, honestly.
Right. You know, for someone who talks a lot, I want to see him back it up. I want to see that in action. I think that's a really good point. I feel like that's where it's falling short for me too, because I love watching Punk in action. It's fun.
Yeah.
Totally fun. One of my favorite things of that Drew McIntyre was like, are you on drugs? That was so great. So great.
McIntyre's fun on the mic.
Just the reaction that CM Punk had, that was he was blown away that such a statement would come from Drew McIntyre, obviously.
It's great. No, I'm loving it. Once again, like, I love that they're tied up together. I do like the idea of doing a Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood. That would be great, most definitely. But let me ask, what are you thinking about this women's tag team division? I know they're starting to develop it, you know, and whatnot. We have you know, the tag champs there, and they're defending. It was a triple threat tag match, but it feels, the thing is, I'm just like, where's the crowd at for this? Because like Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, I've gushed a lot about Zoe Stark. I think she's great. And even like Damage Control, they're great. You know, I love Damage Control and the remaining members that they have, because they have a couple members out on injury. And then you have the Pure Fusion Collective and that name, which is, I still think it's going to work against them. But, you know, and then you have the tag champs there, the Unholy Union, Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. They end up winning and they're continue to be the tag champs. But I want to ask you, what's your thoughts on this women's tag team division? Because I think it's starting to grow a little bit with those tag teams that are coming out. And then even on SmackDown, you know, you have Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. They're still lingering around, which those champions that could go from either show, you know, from show to show. What are your thoughts? Do you think it's developing? Do you think we're on the right track with it? Do you think there's still work to be done?
I think it's a work in progress, definitely. But I really liked some of the things that I saw in this this tag match. I don't think Isla Dawn and Alba Fire are that tag team that is going to stand dominant. I don't think that they will sweep anyone, but they are opportunists, and they really showed that. They really showed that in the finish, and I like it. I really like that they will do that underhanded, unexpected tactic to win, and I really appreciated that. I really want another Damage Control title push, because Io and Kyrie are just phenomenal in the ring. Like, yes, they don't speak English, but that doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It's what they do in the ring and what they do with their energy is just, it's so interesting. And it's like, they showed why they are still in that title picture, because obviously just, you know, there were clear things that were miscalculated during the match, but
yeah,
that's how Io, when I think she got caught on the rope, but the way that she like seemingly got caught, but she made it seem like she intended to do that. Like, true showmanship. Like, and just how Kyrie is just so fluid in the ring. I really don't. I know it's not their time because I've had plenty of run with the titles, but I want more. I selfishly want more of the Damage Control.
I honestly agree with you for real, just because like nothing, like it's really nothing against like Fire and Dawn, and I think that they're a great team together.
Yes.
But like in my eyes, I just feel like with this growing division and these tag teams that are starting to form and starting to come together, and now it's like, okay, it seems like there's actually a women's tag team division, whether you want it to be like Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, who I call, life of the party. And you got, two of the big three with Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. You have those in the mix, the Pure Fusion Collective, so the PFC. It's just awful name. I just, just a PFC, or even if you want to say, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven as well.
I agree.
So many different like components that you could bring into this division, but like right now, I feel like that if you really want to capitalize on this division, maybe put the titles on Damage Control, just because they're an established team who've had like great success and like pretty much ran Friday Night SmackDown as a stable. And you want that name value on your champions. And then if there's another team that you want to get over, then boom, there you go right there. You put
Dakota Kai? What is she doing? What?
Injured. She's injured. Yeah, that news came out like I believe a week ago. Like, okay. Yeah, she's injured, okay. And so like, yeah, right now it's just a tough time for Damage Control, just because they were doing so much on Friday Night SmackDown. Then they came to Monday Night Raw and kind of got lost in the shuffle. Asuka's been injured for a while, and then now you have Kai who's now injured again, and that's going to relegate Io Sky and Kairi Sane back to the tag division. And once again, that's just another reason to keep Damage Control's name strong, because at some point, Asuka and Dakota Kai, they're going to come back. And if they want to
who do you think that Io and Kairi could enlist for the time being to keep relevancy?
That's a good question. I mean, I think that they're going to want somebody else to have their back at some point. That's an interesting question, because I'm trying to think who's in that locker room right now that could really jump on and kind of help them out. But then it's like, what are they going to do after the fact? A lot of women back there, but like right now, I just think they're going to be on their own 2 feet right now until somebody comes back. And I don't know how long Asuka's going to be out, but like we all know when Asuka comes back, she's like immediate threat. Like she's an immediate threat because she's just like that, So I don't know how long she's going to be out, but I just feel like there was once Bayley left Damage Control, things kind of trickled down a little bit. And then once they went to Raw, they got lost in the shuffle. Injuries have kind of plagued them. So it's like they're in a tough spot right now. But once again, that's why I say put those tag titles on them, because you could do that. And Fire and Dawn, I think they had their little bit of time. I don't know. They just don't feel like the face of the division to me. That's not what it's nothing against them. They just don't feel like the face of the division. And like, I think Damage Control, with already being a cohesive team and already having that steam behind them, that's your face of a growing and starting to thrive women's tag team division, in my opinion.
And I feel like an inevitable contention between horribly named PFC and Damage Control, I think that has money written all over it. Ruthless women who have similar idea, but different ways of getting things done. I think that just speaks for itself. Yeah.
I think the division's in good hands right now, honestly.
But I do think Kairi and Io, they need someone who can emulate Dakota Kai's personality, something of that resonance.
Do you have an idea? Do you got somebody you'd like to throw in that spot?
I mean, even okay, play with me, but like Roxanne Perez, she's great on the microphone.
Yeah,
I feel
she
like she has
is.
a good way of getting people to care. She's getting better at it, I really think.
Yeah.
But someone who's going to exemplify Kyrie and Io's, maybe even Julia. I think that would be interesting.
Okay, that would be interesting
So,
too.
I feel like she can give a good promo. I think she can make people, care. But someone who's really going to, or like, help people invest in damage control, because I feel like it's one of those situations where it's like now or never. Like, how do we act on this decision making to make them still relevant?
So let me ask you this: do you think there's somebody that's like already part of the Monday Night Raw roster that could fit that role?
I
I
think we're
like the
gonna need.
idea of bringing in Roxanne Perez, honestly, but like I'm just thinking, like, is there anybody else that you think could come in there that's already in like catering right now and that could really benefit from that spot?
Even Meechin.
Meechin, yeah. I mean, yeah, Meechin's a good one. And Meechin's somebody who I think has been on a really good trajectory right now.
I mean, like,
I like that.
I like that unhinged energy, and I think she would really supplement Io and Kyrie.
I think so too. I think that's a good one.
I mean, she
Just
does damage
because,
with a kendo stick. It writes itself. Just saying.
yeah. I mean, honestly, I just really love what Meechin is doing right now.
Mm.
She's somebody who I've kind of gushed a little bit about just because I like how she's been uniquely booked to just pop in places and just start whooping everybody's ass. And I appreciate that about her, especially since like she's been around for a while. And it's just like Pete Dunne. There's been like a couple of things where it's like stop and start with her. And I feel like that she's starting to kind of find herself in this like badass, like I'm gonna pop up and beat your ass, almost Sandman-ish type character. Like I like it. I want to see more of it from her.
I feel like it's a good way to slot Meechin in, because I feel like she gets more, or she needs more TV time than she is granted right now. So, damage control needs someone who's going to talk on the microphone. There seems to be an open position. Just saying.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like that pick most definitely. But we got to talk about this main event here, and I got a lot of thoughts about it because okay, so it was Randy Orton versus Ludwig Kaiser. We already know that. Ludwig, I like what we can see from Ludwig. Like he doesn't seem like he's just Gunther's henchman anymore. He's slowly starting to kind of grow into his own. And I think that he can, it's not going to be soon, but at some point he could break away from Gunther and really just flourish on his own. I thought the match with him and Randy Orton was good. I liked the influence of Gunther there. I also, it's not lost on me that Randy Orton just kind of worked. That's all he did. He just worked that night. It was just a lot of his greatest hits. We saw all of Randy Orton's greatest hits.
Vintage Randy.
Vintage Randy. And it was just overall good match that moved the story along just a little bit more as we move to Bash in Berlin. But what's your thoughts on the match? And do you have any thoughts on the trajectory of Ludwig Kaiser?
I love the ring awareness that Randy Orton has. He is called the Viper, and for good reason. He's calculating. He's cunning. He doesn't waste any movements, and he moves with such a ridiculous like laser focus that once he sets his sights on you, like it's game over. It's game over. Like, but Ludwig Kaiser is someone who I thought expertly countered every move. They were back and forth. Just the way that Ludwig Kaiser exuded his excellence. I really thought every movement he made was just crisp, and Um, he looks like someone I feel like could stand up toe to toe with Randy Orton. You know, I feel like Randy Orton, he looks bigger and meaner each time we see him come through the curtain. Like it's gross. It was watching like European excellence versus American grit.
Yeah, yep.
Ludwig Kaiser is going to handle things with finesse and an elegance, but Randy Orton's going to get things done. And I thought it was an interesting contrast between the two. I thought it was a great wrestler match, and
Yeah.
I was entertained through and through. I really loved how Ludwig Kaiser worked the Randy Orton's knee over and over again. Like, just his ability to tell a story that way through physical combat, it was really entertaining.
Yeah, I think so too. I really thought, like, all in all, this show was really good. I mean, we got that latest information and latest, like, furthering of the feud that is between Randy Orton and Gunther. The next chapter in the Judgment Day story, the continuation of Xavier Woods' descent into jealousy, and like I thought that's very interesting. I don't know where we're going with this, just because I want to touch on it a little bit because they're kind of slow building this Xavier Woods thing, but I felt like I wanted to touch on it. Like, what are we seeing here? Is Xavier Woods going heel? Is somebody? They're really keeping this close to their chest because Xavier Woods is telling the story with his body language. Like, big ups to him because he's telling the story without really saying much of anything, and I feel like that's a skill, and he's presenting that skill. But what's your thoughts on this whole situation with Xavier Woods and the New Day? Are we going to see the end of the New Day? Is this finally happening?
You know, I really think it's fascinating how it feels like WWE is breaking the fourth wall and connecting with fans even more, because like you and I, we're watching from our TV screens, so we're not there seeing the reactions on the Tron. And just like the excellent camera work is just bringing the storylines a life into an even more nuanced way. And I just think that's just such a fascinating element because, you know, it could be one of those things where I feel like Xavier Woods might be misreading the situation. Maybe it wasn't personal. Like, maybe Kofi wants to put Odyssey in this position to succeed because, you know what, we've seen the cohesive dynamic in the New Day. That's why we love them. That's why they're treasured characters to us. But maybe Xavier really wanted to go in and he misread the situation completely. And you know what, he for whatever reason why he gave that reaction, it could be completely valid. But sometimes the way that we perceive the things that are projected to us is not accurate.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, it's all about, I think, intent and the way that you view somebody's intent. And I think that there's definitely something getting lost in translation there with Xavier Woods. A lot of things that are not spoken, but it's compelling. Like, and I have to look for it because sometimes I don't even get a chance to catch Monday Night Raw live. So sometimes I have to go back to like the Hulu version, and every time on Hulu they cut the New Day stuff out. So I have to go to like YouTube and find it, and like, but it's a developing story, and like I just feel like that it's going to continue to slowly be highlighted until they find, and maybe, and because my initial thought was, man, like this is like a lower mid card feud. Like I feel like that things should like be progressing a little bit faster, but maybe they're kind of waiting. Maybe they're kind of waiting for something like this for a more lull time when things aren't so hot because there's so many different hot storylines. Because I don't want the dissolvement of the New Day to happen and then nobody cares because there's so many other stories happening. So maybe they're waiting for a specific moment to do this. But like, I don't know, because whatever happens from it, it could really change the trajectory of their career if Xavier Woods turns and maybe has Odyssey Jones as his heavy. That can really catapult him into some different situations and to maybe like IC title conversations or something like that. But that's all have to be slow build, and then you have to get through the feud with Kofi if they do that. Because I think something is coming, but like with that one, I couldn't really tell you at this point when it's going to happen. You know?
I agree. There's a lot of slow build here, and you don't have the same luxury as the pace and the storytelling, like as seen in like Judgment Day. Like the dynamic with the dissolving of New Day, it either has to pop off at a huge level or no one is going to care, unfortunately. And I think that they deserve better than that.
I totally agree with all the time put in from the New Day, the championship pedigree that they have, the titles between all of them as a unit. You got to make it big. I mean, I just feel like it has to be, you know. You got OG Tony saying that he thinks Odyssey is going to turn. He can't trust anybody named Jones. Hypocrisy Jones, I know you see that. I know you see that, bro. And he also thinks that Jones is with the Final Testament. So I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I know I did see a backstage promo of Karrion Kross pretty much saying, this was on IG. I was on IG, and it was him saying, "Oh, I got to figure out what to do next." Blah 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 blah. And I love Scarlett's role in this promo.
She talked.
In the back.
A manager talked.
Yeah, she talked.
In the Final Testament, they used the managers about time,
and she made good sense. Yeah. She was pretty much like, you know, you don't have to do anything more with them. You know, you're like poison. Anything you touch dies in time. So just let it happen. Let whatever's gonna play out. And I think that was a good pivot because whatever's happening within the New Day, it honestly doesn't have much to do with the Final Testament anymore. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And like, I like the fact that Scarlett was like, you've already talked that poison into Woods. Look at him now. Just sit back and let it happen. And like, now we're going to see Final Testament kind of back off. And now center stage is everything happening with the New Day.
You know what? I know why the storyline is taking its time, because you just said it yourself. Sometimes the poison, it takes time for the neurotoxins to hit the brain.
Yep.
And it's eroding. New Day might be eroding.
That's good. Our guy, Bruzy, say his name and he appears. We appreciate you coming on, man. You're awesome. He was one of our call-ins from our Sunday house party. Called in. We talked a little bit of the man himself, Joe Hendry. He asked about it. And like, I did want to talk a little bit about that before we slide out of here. Call this a great episode. So I know sometimes we'll talk a little bit of NXT. We don't talk about it every week, but sometimes we do. But especially if it's like something big. And like, I feel like that this past Tuesday, something big happened because Joe Hendry, a contracted TNA talent, is now #1 contender for the NXT Championship. He's going to go up against Ethan Page at No Mercy. I was like looking at who was in the match, and Ethan Page already being a heel. I feel like the writing was on the wall that it was going to be Joe Hendry to win it. But still, when he won it, I was still like, oh, my gosh, this is happening. He's about to be in an NXT title match. His trajectory has just been insane. What are you thinking about Joe Hendry? Now he's fighting for the NXT Championship in No Mercy.
I feel like we're witnessing history in the making. Like, we're breaking down doors, and I just think that is amazing. Things that we never thought would ever occur, they're happening in real time. And I feel like Joe Hendry is the right pick. Like, he gets the crowd so engaged on every level.
Yeah.
I think that is the person who needs to be in that picture. He's fun. He's engaging. And it's simple. It's simple stuff that works. Like less is more in this case.
Less is more. Yep, for sure.
And I really feel like it might be Ethan Page's foil, which I also think he is an incredible talent.
Oh yeah.
Hate him, and I love to hate him.
He's doing his job as a heel. That's exactly what it is. But like I don't know if you're on the same page as me, and I like Ethan for sure, but I feel like that right now might be the right time to put the title on Joe Hendry.
You know what? I don't know if it's going to happen, but I feel like that's a really smart decision. Or at least have some feud play out between the both of them.
Yeah.
Because that's money. But I feel like the response that Joe Hendry is creating, I think it's smart. I really think it's smart.
Yeah. You see what I did there, Bruzy. You see what I did.
I love it. I love it.
And we appreciate it, man. We appreciate it. We do. We truly do. And like, this was a really great episode. I thought that we put together another good one. I wanted to talk a little bit of Joe Hendry just because it was big news that happened. And before we slide out of here, and I give my great co-host here, Annie, a chance to plug anything that you might have to plug. I just got to say that if you guys are going to be watching No Mercy, checking it out, that's on September 1st. Why don't you head on over, do a little watch along with myself and some of the team here within your house. We're going to do our Sunday house party. We're going to do a watch along of NXT No Mercy. So if y'all want to slide, come check us out. It's going to be great. I'm excited for that one. But now I got to throw it over here to my co-host, Annie O'Neal. What do you got moving? Where can they catch you at? Where can any listener here move on if they enjoy what they see from Annie O'Neal?
So, I have an episode of Bumping and Thumping, my podcast, featuring Peapod. He was on the house call last week, and
great
he was on my podcast this time. So that'll be dropping. We got to take a look in the world of commentary and how that craft extends itself to the whole wrestling phenomenon, and it was just really interesting to see someone else's perspective. That's what I like about Bumping and Thumping. So that'll be dropping very shortly. September 6th, I will be at Divine Pro. Billy Starks will be on that show, so
she's
head
amazing.
out to Wyandotte, Michigan, and see where she is on that lineup. September 7th, I will be at Chaos Wrestling in Michigan. Paragon will be going head-to-head with the Void Walker, TJ Myers. So
that'll be a good one.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm training, working out, breaking personal records every day. That's all that I'm all about. So, yes, please check it out. Thank you. Yes.
Yes, definitely.
What are you up to? Because you're up to amazing things. Tell everyone what you're doing.
Appreciate you throwing me the ball. I'm going to go ahead and slam dunk it because I always got something going on right here at In Your House. You already know. I mean, I have an amazing team here that I work with. We all work together, and it just the content that we're putting out there gives us an opportunity to bring in new fans like Bruzy out there and unique ideas like doing awesome call-ins like we did on our Sunday house party. Check out our Sunday house parties. Those are always great. We always try to get as much of the crew together as we possibly can and just talk about the week in wrestling, and it always makes for a really great episode. Then on Monday, go ahead and check out Window Liquors. That is also on the In Your House podcast network. And that is Grunmeister teaming up with the host of the show. That's the voice, Josh Joseph. And they give you 3 things they're talking about the previous Monday Night Raw. And then they preview the Monday Night Raw that happens an hour before before it actually goes on the air. They do it at 7, and then they end it around 8, going right into Monday Night Raw. And then, of course, Hypocrisy Jones, he gives you his smoke sessions, and that's just kind of general type news going on, and he keeps it bite-sized. Maybe you're on break at work, maybe you're on a smoke break, something like that. It's about 15 minutes, you guys, to get through. just that little break, boom, 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 talk a little bit of wrestling news. Then, of course, here Wednesday, you already know, myself and the amazing Annie O'Neal, we get together. We talk all the happenings from Monday Night Raw, a little bit of NXT, and we bring you the Raw deal with Howse and O'Neal, and those are always great. And then Friday, we have Grunge Room. Grun does a great job. He talks SmackDown, the SmackDown preview show, Grunge Room. That is great. And then actually, if you get a chance to, Bruzy, because I see you out there. I see you out there, man. I see you went ahead and followed Bumping and Thumping.
Thank you.
So great stuff. Great stuff. We appreciate you, bro, and being in that Discord. But what you need to do is come and join myself and the Educator of Extreme, and that is the voice, Josh Joseph, for our Friday ECW watch-alongs. Those are always fun. We have a blast doing those. And then on September 11th, that's going to be another show coming up here, Wrestle Arch, Indianapolis, Indiana. I'll be there on commentary and doing my thing. A lot of great talents are going to be there. And then September 14th, that's coming up. That's my next date at Emerge Wrestling in Columbus, Indiana. And I'm working on something big for you guys. If you guys out there in Columbus know, you guys already know about the Rundown, where we get a chance to go to a radio station out in Columbus. I always get a chance to take a trip out to Columbus, Indiana, and we preview the show that is coming up. Well, now with the main event that has been announced, and that's been announced officially on the Facebook of Emerge Wrestling. So go check that out if you guys get a chance to. It's going to be the champion, the world's most dangerous champion, the leader of the tribe, the Emerge World Heavyweight Champion Paragon, going up against his longtime friend, tag team partner. And the crazy thing about this, ladies and gentlemen, these two have never even teamed or never even went up against each other in a one-on-one. This is a first-time ever match, and that's the Infinite Man, Tim. Those two are going to go one-on-one, and I have been tasked to be the one to have to get these two men together, and I have to conduct an interview with these two leading up to their match. This is officially sponsored by Emerge Wrestling, and it is going to be our interview split screen segment where I will have both these men on In Your House on behalf of Emerge Wrestling, and I'm going to try to interview these two combustible elements as they lead into their big championship bout at Emerge 81. So check that out. That's going to be coming up down the line. But it's going to be great, y'all. But guys, you already know where I'm going to be at. That's right here doing my thing. You can follow me on all those social medias, Alakan House. But most importantly, follow our pages. That's In Your House Wrestling Podcast on Facebook. Follow everything that my great team is doing. And guys, that's HOWSE, and the W stands for work. So guys, for Divinely Designed Danny O'Neal, for the Grunmeister, for the voice, Josh Joseph, for Hypocrisy Jones, and for the world's most dangerous podcaster, I am Alakan, the Concept House, here to remind you to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to hop on this bandwagon, get on or get gone, because the household is still going mighty strong. You guys have a great day and a great rest of your week. Peace.
Hello, everyone. It's the Pope Elijah Burke, founder and president of the Love Alive charity. I wanted to take this brief moment to share with you my charity's continued humanitarian efforts to positively impact the impoverished communities in and around the greater Jacksonville area. This cannot be possible without your support. If you'd be so kind, please take a moment to visit our website, love-alive.org, to learn more about the charity and its mission. Also, feel free to donate to our 501c3 organization that operates off of the donation of the public, which is you. Whether that be by website or via Cash App, $1 help makes a difference in the lives of others as we continue to positively influence many people by being the change that we wish to see in the world.
Hollywood in your house, hypocrisy's handing the clouds. Curating all kind of loud, wrestling in front of the crowds. Paragon's holding it down. Anybody can get it. Come to us for your news and opinions. We got a voice, there is no choice. Music voice in your house making wrestling noise. Moving fast is like cruiserweight action. Your house is a perfect distraction. Pump us up your ears when you in traction. Get this work with some wrestling action.